Chapter 5. Clauses. Let's learn clauses. A clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a finite verb. For example, Vikram stopped. She sang. He slept. Let's learn kinds of clauses. There are two kinds of clauses: independent or principal or main clause, dependent or subordinate clause. An independent clause could be a sentence by itself or a part of a bigger sentence along with other clauses. A simple sentence contains only one clause. Subject plus verb is equal to complete thought. For example, mother called the family. The duckling swam to the other side of the lake. I have been planning to buy a new house. In the above sentences, the verbs are both single word, called or swam, and a group of words, have been planning. They are clauses with only one verb. A dependent clause cannot stand by itself. It needs to be combined with an independent clause to make a full sentence. Subordinate conjunction plus subject plus verb is equal to incomplete thought. We need to have a main clause to make the complete sense. For example, when the ducklings swam, they reached their home safely, connecting two independent clauses. The independent clauses may be joined by using a conjunction. Here are some commonly used coordinating conjunctions. And all of us went to the beach and we agreed it was a lot of fun. But they wanted to watch the complete show, but it was getting late. Or we can take our umbrellas, or we could wear our raincoats. Nor he did not want to criticize the management, nor did he want to provoke the students. Yet Arjun was late for the meeting, yet he drove with great care. So I had a great urge to eat ice cream, so I drove down and got some for myself. Let's learn types of dependent clauses. There are three main types of dependent clauses categorized according to their function in a sentence: noun clause, adverb clause, adjective clause. Noun clause. A noun clause functions as a noun. It can be a subject or object, direct or indirect, a subject complement or an object of a preposition. It may start with a WH word like what, who, which, when, where, or why. It may even start with that or how. For example, he knows all the ins and outs of this route, direct object of know. My only worry is that they won't be here in time. Subject complement. A person who is habitual liar thinks everyone else is lying. Subject. I'm highly impressed with this work done at such short notice. Object of the preposition with. In the above sentences, all the highlighted groups of words are noun clauses. Adverb clause. An adverb clause is a group of words that functions as an adverb. It modifies verbs, adverbs, and adjectives and answers the questions when, where, why, and how. It begins with a subordinating conjunction such as after, if, because, in case, until, where, since, unless then, in order, as if, or although. It can be used to state a time, a place, a condition, a frequency, or something related to the independent clause. It is separated from an independent clause with a comma. For example, Tina polished the brass vessel until it shone like gold. The thieves ran away once they saw the police van coming. Unless you run fast, you will miss the bus. The medical store is kept open 24 hours in case of emergencies. In the above sentences, all the highlighted groups of words are adverb clauses. There are different kinds of adverb clauses: manner, place, time, reason, comparison. Adverb clause of manner answers the question how after the main verb. It tells us how an action is done. An adverb clause of manner usually starts with as if, or as though. For example, in the fancy dress competition, you may go as you please. She looked as if she were about to cry. The dog looked at his master as though he wanted to say something. Adverb clause of place is used to modify the verb in the main clause and to tell the place at which an action takes place. Where, as far as near as, wherever, or anywhere are some of the subordinating conjunctions that begin the adverb clauses of place. For example, she looks perpetually lost wherever I meet her. Where do you decide to settle? Is completely your decision. All that land, as far as you can see, belongs to my family. Adverb clause of time answers the question when. It is introduced by subordinating conjunctions like when, whenever, before, after, as, since, till, once, or now that. The subject in the main clause and the subject in the adverb clause must be the same. For example, after the match ended, we left for our homes. As the chief guest arrived, we all stood up. Whenever I go to London, I stay with my brother. Adverb clause of reason is used to modify the verb in the main clause. It tells us the clause or reason why an action takes place. The subject in the main clause and the subject in the adverb clause must be the same. It is usually introduced by the subordinating conjunctions like because, as, since, for, or that. For example, I like coming to Goa in July because I love the monsoon here. As I love the rainy season, I like coming to Goa in July. My parents were disappointed that I didn't get the scholarship. Remember, in an adverb clause of reason, the conjunction that is often omitted. For example, I'm glad you like it, or I'm glad that you like it. As and since are used when the reason is already known to the listener, because is used to give information which isn't already known to the reader or to the listener. Adverb clause of comparison tells us about the degree or extent of an action, quality, or manner. It answers the question how much or how many. Adverb clauses of comparison begin with the subordinating conjunctions like as, so, as, or then. For example, she is not so intelligent as her sister. Her husband is much younger than she is. She is as wise as she is beautiful. Adjective clause. An adjective clause is a group of words which contains a subject and a predicate of its own. It is a dependent or subordinate clause which modifies a noun and functions as an adjective. It is usually begins with a relative pronoun, which, that, who, whom, or whose. It can also begin with a relative verb, where, when, or why. For example, she has a scarf made of silk. Students who are lazy can never do well. The book, which is written by Dickens, tells the story of Oliver. Shahne, whose father is in the Navy, has been to many countries. In the above sentences, all the highlighted groups of words are adjective clauses that modify nouns. Let's learn relative clause. A relative clause is a subordinate clause that modifies a noun or a noun phrase. It adds information about the noun in a sentence by using a relative pronoun. It has a subject and a verb, but cannot stand alone, as it functions like an adjective by giving more information about a noun. It is sometimes also called an adjective clause. A relative clause begins with a relative pronoun: who, that, which, whose, where, or when. For example, this is the house that was built by my grandfather many years ago. We need someone who can lead the group to its goal. Jane, who is French, has joined our school today. The banyan tree, which has witnessed our freedom struggle, is the village center today. In the above sentences, all the highlighted groups of words are relative clauses. Relative clauses are of two types: defining relative clause, non-defining relative clause. Defining relative clause. A defining relative clause gives essential information to define or identify the person or thing we are talking about. It consists of a relative pronoun: who, whom, which, whoever, whomever, whichever, or that. A verb and a subject or object of a verb. Commas are not used to separate a defining relative clause from the rest of the sentence. For example, the man who is announcing is the chairman of the school. The dish that I ordered was delicious. The reason why I came here today is not important. I haven't read that book which you were talking about. In the above sentences, all the highlighted groups of words are defining relative clauses. Non-defining relative clause. A non-defining relative clause is used to provide non-essential but interesting information, just like a defining relative clause. A non-defining relative clause also consists of a relative pronoun, a verb, and a subject or object of a verb. Commas are always used to separate a non-defining relative clause from the rest of the sentence. For example, Michael Jackson, whose middle name was Joseph, was called the King of Pop. Steve's mother, who lives in Scotland, has 3 grandchildren. The heavy rain, which was unusual for the time of year, destroyed most of the plants in my garden. My uncle, who was born in Hong Kong, lived most of his life overseas. In the above sentences, all the highlighted groups of words are non-defining relative clauses. Remember, if a relative pronoun is followed by a verb, it is a subject pronoun. If a relative pronoun is followed by a noun or a pronoun, it is an object pronoun. If a relative pronoun is a relative clause, it functions as a subject pronoun and can be replaced with a participle. For example, did you notice the bird which is perched on our windowsill? Did you notice the bird perched on our windowsill? Let's learn conditional clause. Conditional sentences tell us that if certain condition is true, then a particular result happens. In a conditional sentence, one of the clauses lays down the condition called a conditional clause, while the second one gives the result. For example, if you had hurried up little, we would not have missed the show. I would have joined the army if I had the opportunity. If you do yoga regularly, you will soon know the results. In the above sentences, all the highlighted groups of words are conditional clauses. When the if clause precedes the main clause, a comma is used after it. Types of conditional clauses. There are types of conditional clauses: conditional type 0, conditional type 1, conditional type 2, conditional type 3. Conditional type 0 expresses general truths, scientific facts, or results. If plus simple present conditional clause plus simple present main clause. For example, if you trim your hair, it grows faster. If you stop breathing, you die. If I get up early, I watch the sunrise. Conditional type 1 is used to talk about a possible situation if a certain condition is met. The action will take place in the future if the required condition is fulfilled by that time. If plus simple present conditional clause plus simple future main clause. For example, if I come home before 9 p.m., I will watch the match. If his fracture heals quickly, he will play in the next match. If she works hard, she will pass. Remember, sometimes when can be used instead of if. Conditional type 2 is used when there is very little or no possibility of a condition being fulfilled. It talks of unreal and imaginary situations. If plus simple past, conditional clause plus would plus base form of a verb, main clause. For example, if I were a king, I would live in a castle. If I owned a gold mine, I would cover my roof with gold. If I were rich, I would buy a private jet. Generally, were is used instead of was in the if clause of the conditional type 2. Conditional type 3 is used to refer to past situations. It expresses an imaginary or supposed result of an event that has already taken place. If plus past perfect conditional clause plus would have plus past participle main clause. For example, if you had worked harder, you would have passed your exam. If I had found her address, I would have sent her an invitation. If I had known you were coming, I would have prepared a delicious meal.